to the All Around Adventure Podcast, the show where you hear amazing tales from afar and the all-important life lessons that go along with them. Here's your host, Josh Guerrero.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Josh Guerrero here, and welcome to the All Around Adventure Podcast. Whether you're joining me for the first time or if you've been listening to the podcast for a while now, I certainly do want to welcome you here. And as always, I want to thank you for being here today, just because I know that you're busy and you have a lot going on. And I also know that there's a lot out there on the internet these days that's trying to get your attention and distract you. But it just means so much to me that you've chosen to download and listen to this podcast. Now, if you are in fact new to this podcast and you're not entirely sure what we're all about here, this is the show where you hear amazing tales from afar and get the all-important life lessons that go along with them. Those will, of course, be stories from myself as well as the amazing guests that I welcome on this podcast. But in this episode, you just have me today. This is a solo cast. Don't really have a fancy name for the solo cast like I used to in the past. This is just simply the solo show, I suppose. And like I said, I'm going to be sharing some of my own stories, my own thoughts, my own ideas with you all today. Hopefully give you some value, give you some things that you could take away from this episode that you can implement into your life once you're done listening to it. And with that, let's go ahead and kick this off and get into today's solo cast. Now, 15 years ago, I embarked on a rather interesting self-development journey with something specific, and that is 15 years ago, I decided to give up alcohol and quit drinking entirely. Now, my reasoning for doing this probably isn't what a whole lot of people expect. I didn't hear this term until very later on in my sobriety journey. And when I say very much later on, I'm just talking maybe about a year ago, I heard this term. But apparently, I guess the term spontaneous sobriety is kind of applies to my journey, I would say, meaning that I didn't really have a specific why for quitting drinking. I just kind of sort of stopped and stuck with it. And I guess I'd say I found some reasons why I stuck with it as I went into my journey. But my decision to quit drinking alcohol wasn't really sparked by a particular instance or a collection of things necessarily. I didn't really have a problem with alcohol or drinking or anything like that. I just, like I said, I stopped and I stuck with it. And so in today's episode, I kind of want to go back and kind of tell you all that story as to when I stopped drinking, and then I guess the few reasons why I quit drinking, or I guess in this case, held off drinking alcohol, and just kind of what my life has sort of been like. And I think once you are trying to develop yourself in some way, or you're making changes in your life to ultimately better yourself, you could get a little bit of pushback, especially if what you're giving up, your friends, your family, whomever spends times with you and associates with you, they may feel I guess the right term is a little bit off-put by the fact that you're changing, and maybe you're not like the quote-unquote fun version of yourself that they remember. So my story of sobriety begins back on October 30th, 2009. Now, around this time, I had just recently gotten out of the Marine Corps. I had started going to college to finish out my undergrad back in Michigan, my home state. And I was also getting into mixed martial arts at the time, or MMA, as many of you know is the acronym for. And there was one particular night, well, actually, it was on this night, of course, October 30th, where there was an MMA event in Bay City, Michigan, which is part of the Tri-Cities, where Saginaw Valley State University, my alma mater, is located. And so I wasn't fighting this night, but some of my teammates were, and all of my teammates that fought that night won their fights, and a few of them in very decisive fashion. It was a great night, very good for my team. So we had an after party at a local bar. And so my team, a few of the other fighters that fought that night also went too. It was a good time. And I ordered a Corona. And when I was getting close to finishing this Corona, I said to myself, you know what? This is going to be my last beer ever. And I'm not sure what prompted me to say that in that moment, but That's what I said. And I said, this is going to be my last beer ever. So I finished it, put the bottle down, didn't order another one. And that was that. And I just went about the rest of the night hanging with my teammates and just having a good time at the after party. But I didn't order another drink. Now, as days went on, since that, I kind of sort of reflected on what I said and started thinking to myself, did I really mean that? Did I really mean that I was going to, that was my last beer ever and I'm not going to drink anymore or anything like that? Or am I just not going to drink beer and maybe I'll just like have some other drinks, maybe like some liquor every now and then or whatever the case may be? But the more I thought about it, the more I started putting reasons together in my head as to where I would just figure is like, maybe I just won't drink anymore at all. And a couple of ideas sort of did come to the fold that sort of, again, acted as my whys after the fact. Like I didn't really have a reason why for wanting to quit drinking before I made the decision, but I kind of sort of developed some afterwards. And the first one is, frankly, to me, and I'm probably going to get some backlash in the comments for this one, but I just think alcohol just tastes awful. Like I just do. Like when I reflect on it, it's just like drinking beer and drinking other forms of alcohol, having to power through the taste just for the sake of finishing it. It wasn't enjoyable to me. I thought it tasted awful. And I guess some people say, well, it's an acquired taste. Well, I didn't really care to acquire the taste. So that was a physical reason why I didn't want to drink alcohol anymore, I suppose, is that I just simply didn't like the way it tastes. And there were some nights when I kind of sort of powered through the bad taste and eventually I had a little bit too much to drink and I did get really drunk a couple of times, not to the point where I did anything outlandish or anything like that, but I just remember the next morning having a hangover and just feeling awful. And, to me, it just wasn't worth it. Like it wasn't worth consuming all that alcohol to wake up the next morning, sleeping until about like noon and just totally losing the entire day. So I think I just wasn't really willing to do that anymore. It just didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. And the third reason is that alcohol is expensive. And I really did not want my wallet to thin out by just buying drinks at the bar or, going to the store and just buying a bunch of drinks. Again, I just didn't feel like the alcohol itself provided enough value into my life that warranted me spending money on it. And now the next reason I will also discuss here, and I think this is probably the biggest one of all, and I don't think this is going to be an exhaustive list, y'all. I think this is just kind of is what coming to my mind in the moment. Don't have a script in front of me or anything like that. But I just feel like alcohol would impede my ability to be dependable to others. And what I mean by that is, I like to think of myself as, again, someone who likes to add value. And of course, I was just getting out of the Marine Corps at the time. And here I was training in MMA and everything like that. So I think I really had the mindset of being a protector and everything like that, having, been in the military and of course doing, working on my fighting and everything like that too. It's just, I had the mindset of being a protector and a servant, I suppose I'll say. And I knew that alcohol would impede my ability to execute on those, my sort of, I guess you can say, self-imposed responsibilities. And I've seen some things along the way, like when I was in the Marine Corps, there was a couple of times where I've been in bars and I will actually see men who are in these bars with their girlfriends or their wives or whatever. And the men would get so drunk that the women themselves would have to put their husband's arm over their shoulders and walk them out of the bar. And I just couldn't help but think to myself that if something happened, as this woman was walking her husband out to the car, if they got jumped in the parking lot or something like that, this man was in no shape whatsoever to even lift a finger to defend his wife or his girlfriend. And that would just be a terrible, terrible circumstance. And I didn't want to, ever put myself in a situation where I couldn't be someone that a girl or a friend of mine, or if I'm out with a family member, I did not want to be someone that they couldn't rely on if things got bad or a situation gets bad. And, and I also, even to this day, now at least, I have children in my life. And if, let's say, I'm with any of these children, and if they end up getting injured or hurt or really, really sick, while they're around me, and I'm just like too inebriated to load them up in the car and get them to the hospital really quick, then again, I'm wrong. I'm in a bad spot, and yes, I guess I could call 911 in that situation if I don't think I have the ability to drive. But how well can I accurately convey information to the dispatcher to make sure that help arrives quickly and efficiently? And also, in my opinion, at least, is just I don't want to diminish myself as a man to where I have to outsource the protection of my loved ones to other men. That's just not something that I'm willing to do. So again, I just believe that alcohol impairs my ability to show up in that way. I mean, God forbid is if one of my best friends or one of my loved ones, calls me in the middle of the night and needs my help for whatever reason, and again, I'm just too out of it because I've consumed too much alcohol where I can't be of help to them. I always kind of like tell my friends, it's like, if you need anything, give me a call. I can't promise you that I'll know the right answers or I'll know what to do, but I will at least be sober enough to listen. So those are just some of my whys as to why I've kept alcohol out of my life once I made the decision to give it up spontaneously. All right, so what I want to talk about next is some of the things that sort of happened in my life in general since I quit drinking alcohol. And now there were some challenges when I made the decision to give up alcohol, and I think the biggest challenge came in the form of social challenge. And that is, again, a lot of my friends that I had in college that I would go out with, like on Friday or Saturday nights, they were used to seeing me drinking and ordering drinks. And then when I went out with them again, once I made the decision to not drink, they would ask me, hey, what do you want? First round's on me. I'm like, oh, I don't drink anymore. So maybe just give me like a sugar-free Red Bull or something like that. And one of the first responses I got from my friend when I said this is, oh, what are you judging us now? You think you're too good, because you're not drinking? And it's like, well, I never said that. I just said that I'm not going to drink. You all go do what you want and everything like that. So I did get a few of those from time to time. People thought that maybe I was judging them, or I was thinking that maybe I was better than them in some way, which I don't. To each their own. I mean, everyone who I know who consumes alcohol, they're responsible with it. They don't drink and drive or anything like that. And then also with just me as an anthropologist, I am kind of fascinated about alcohol in certain regions of the world and amongst different cultures and everything like that. Not that I would be partaking in it necessarily, but I still find it fascinating nonetheless. I'd love to go to maybe some of the distilleries, like the next time I'm in Ireland or something like that, or like here in San Antonio where I live, and also in Tallahassee, Florida, where I used to live. There was a lot of microbreweries there, and I could just see the passion and like the different crafters, eyes when they were telling about putting together their own recipes and just relishing in the process that it takes to ultimately make their final product. And it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work that I've observed at these breweries and distilleries to make the final bottled product. So very, very fascinating, definitely. So that was certainly a challenge. It was just, again, the social pressures that I felt like was sort of put on me once I made it clear that I won't be drinking alcohol anymore. Which isn't too uncommon if you share other aspects of your life that you're working to improve on. Maybe you're on a weight loss journey or something like that. And, your friends that you go out to dinner with, they're used to you like ordering desserts and stuff like that. And then suddenly you make the decision that I'm not going to be ordering dessert anymore. And I'm actually going to get the lower calorie plate instead of the big high calorie one. And, you may get some pushback for that because, again, they're not used to it, or they recognize that you're working to better yourself, and maybe they might feel some guilt because they're not doing the same just as well, too. So you could probably tap into some insecurities that they may have. At least that's something that I've experienced throughout my life. And there's probably a chance that maybe you've experienced this, too, if you've been embarking on a journey to better yourself in some way. So that was a challenge of giving up alcohol. But like I said, there was certainly some benefits that I've experienced along the way just as well, too. And like I said, I can't really think of a whole lot like right offhand other than, of course, some of the basics. Physically, I feel a lot better. Of course, my mind is sharper. And then, I feel like I got a little bit more money to my name because I'm not spending it on alcohol in any sort of way. And again, even though like alcohol wasn't necessarily a problem in my life that led me to want to quit drinking it, and I kind of just sort of quit drinking spontaneously, I still feel a very good sense of liberation. Like, I feel like this is something that I'm not tempted by in any sort of way. Like, even to this day, it's just I've had no temptations at all of wanting to start drinking alcohol again. It's just simply a part of my character now. It's like, hi, I'm Josh Guerrero and I don't drink alcohol. Just simple, just very, very simple. So those are definitely some of the benefits that I've experienced thus far. And again, this definitely is an exhaustive list, but those are some of the key ones that I wanted to share with you all today. And that's really it, y'all. That's just, my journey to sobriety from alcohol in a nutshell. I hope you all found this beneficial. Maybe you are looking to maybe try to get some habits out of your life. Maybe it's alcohol, drugs, or whatever. And maybe some of these points that I've mentioned today, maybe they might be beneficial to you all as well. But of course, then again, I'm not like an addiction specialist or anything like that. So if you think that maybe addiction is something that you're struggling with, definitely seek professional help if that's something that you feel that you need to work on. So, all right, everyone. Well, that's going to do it for me today. I really hope you all enjoyed today's solocast. Be sure to check in next Monday when I release a brand new episode featuring another fantastic guest, and I will see you all then. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and have an outstanding week.
Thank you for listening to the All Around Adventure Podcast. For more information and resources, head over to allaroundadventure.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast directory. And until next time, be safe, happy travels, and always move forward.